Hi all, this is Pixelcave, and in this video we are looking at key locations and important unlocks you can find in the starter zone in Dune Awakening. After creating your character and playing through a brief tutorial, you will set foot on the sands of Hagga Basin South, which is essentially the map area where every new player is starting out. Here, you will learn how to progress with your character, the basics about combat, crafting, as well as how to survive the unique dangers of Arrakis. And most importantly, it is here where you will prepare for crossing the desert and advancing further on the map with your first vehicle, a sandbike. Now, while the game does a pretty good job of guiding you through the game with the help of its journey system, we thought it could be helpful to highlight the most important points of interest. NPCs you don't want to miss, as well as areas where key resources and unique unlocks can be found. Obviously, this all comes with a huge spoiler warning if you want to discover and explore everything yourself. But if you want to familiarize yourself with the map and know where to find what, then let's dive in. The first thing you should know about the map, especially when starting out with friends, is that there are multiple entry points where you can spawn into the map. They are all located along the southern edge of the map, but since it's random, you might not end up in the same place as your buddies. And while you can try to group up right away, it's not worth stressing over it early on, as the game will mostly guide you through some very basic first steps and slowly lead you a bit further north to more important points of interest. And this is where it makes more sense to meet and team up to continue. For example, at one point your journey will lead you to the zone's trade post, Griffin's Reach. Trade posts are where you usually can find NPCs that are relevant to your journey, or those that give you new quests, or contracts as Dune Awakening likes to call them. Each trade post also has a contract board with quests that are relevant for the area or lead you further. There are also merchants that sell goods and a pilot that allows you to fast travel to other trade posts and also some locations beyond the map itself. However, in order to travel to other trade posts, you must first have discovered them in the other zones of the map. While at the Griffin's Reach trade post, and since it's always good to carry a decent container to store water, the merchant here sells a schematic for a unique lithogone. We'll talk more about schematics shortly, but this is a nice little upgrade from the regular one you can craft. So, if you have some spare Solari, do consider to buy an extra one. We say extra, as we'll also show you where this schematic drops for free in this zone. Now, the northern strip of Hagga Basin South will be the most important area. However, there are still reasons to explore more of the zone. For one, there's the main journey and central story of the game that requires you to visit a cave here. We recommend completing this journey step as soon as you can, as it will unlock equipment that's essential for your early survival and progression. If you need help with finding the story location or any subsequent ones in the next zones, we have a dedicated location guide to help you with that. Another reason to visit some of the camps and outposts that are unrelated to your main journey or contracts are intel points and unique schematics. Intel points are what you need to unlock new crafting recipes in your research menu, and in addition to getting points while leveling, you can also find intel in all larger outposts that are marked with this icon on the map. Simply locate and interact with the briefcase-like item with the green hologram and you unlock extra intel points. Some are trickier to find than others, and we recommend checking behind corners and on different floors. While you don't have to find all of them, it's a great way of speeding up some research unlocks. And especially later on, you will need a lot more points to unlock all the higher tier research you want. By the way, when you hover over the outpost icon on the map, you can see how many intel points can be found at the location, and whether or not you already have collected them. Now, what about unique schematics? Unique schematics teach you special crafting recipes that are always better than items of the respective tier that you can unlock in your research menu. That's either because they have better, additional or unique stats. Unique schematics can typically be found in special loot containers in testing stations and large shipwrecks. We will talk about these locations in a bit, but you can also find them in select outposts, caves and a few other hidden and special locations. Here you can see an overview of all locations with unique schematics in Hagga Basin South. For a more detailed guide and breakdown of which schematics you can find at each location, make sure to check out our full schematics guide with timestamps for easy navigation. But in short, most locations contain multiple possible schematics, and the one you get is random. However, a few locations offer a 100% drop chance for one item. For instance, there's a unique rifle that drops at a broken stone station, and a nice short blade you can get at a large shipwreck. Plus, you can pick up a free Hagga Basin schematic here, atop a rather high cliff if you're ready for a climb. And while you can't see which specific schematic you are missing at each location, there's an in-game menu that tracks which schematics you've already found. In the early to mid-game, we recommend not holding on to schematics, as you will outlevel the items faster than you think. Schematic tiers are mostly tied to the tier of the zone they are found in, not your character level, so simply learn them, craft them and use them as you go. On that topic, crafting unique schematics requires spice-infused dust of the corresponding item tier, which is found in a select few of the bigger chests that drop the schematics. So if you need more of that resource, make sure to farm those chests a few times. Finally, keep in mind that learning a unique schematic generally only allows you to craft that item once. If you need another one, you'll have to find and learn the schematic again. Aside from the schematics you can find, there are also 2 optional contracts that can be picked up around enemy camps. One at Dune Gateway, and another one at a cave nearby. The one at the outpost can be found on the roof of the building, and the one at the Cave of Ghosts just outside under a canopy. To be honest, both aren't really worth bothering with, and as far as we remember, only have a small Solari reward, but we thought we'd mention it for all the completionists out there. Now let's talk about key resources you can find in Hagga Basin South. Copper is the first and only tier of ore that can be found in this zone, and it's required for most of your crafting needs before you can progress to the next map area. You can recognize copper by the streaks of blue color that marble the rocks, and those can be found pretty much everywhere. Once you have reached a step in your journey where you have learned to refine copper ore to ingots, you will also learn how to survey a zone as to permanently remove the fog of war from it. Another type of important crafting materials are components, and you get them primarily as loot from enemies and loot containers. These can be items like armor plating and the likes. However, there are some components you can only get at specific points of interest. Micro sandwich fabric and EMF generators. These 2 components are related to areas of the Fremen, and most of the time you can find them in caves of any kind. You can recognize them by their orange icon background that matches those of the caves on the map. Particle capacitors and advanced servox. Both components can typically be found in Imperial testing stations, also referred to as ecolabs. For these items, the icon background is blue. Then there are mechanical parts and plasteel microflora fiber. These 2 components can primarily be found in the large shipwrecks, and in later zones also smaller crashed ships. The icons for these items feature a green background. Okay, so what about testing stations and shipwrecks? The first Imperial testing station you can find is located in the center of the northern part of Hagga Basin South. Testing stations are a type of non-instance mini-dungeon that offer a chest with better loot at the end, and are also linked to some contracts and journey steps. The difficulty level varies, but all of them can be done solo, especially the ones you find in the early zones. Then there are the large shipwrecks. The one you can find in Hagga Basin South is located just east of the testing station. This shipwreck is a bit of an exception, as these points of interest are usually flagged as PvP areas and loot is not shared. However, since this is in the starter zone where you're about to learn the ropes, the first shipwreck is a PvE location, so the only thing you need to worry about are the NPCs. Almost all zones in Hagga Basin have one or multiple testing stations and shipwrecks, with a very few exceptions. Beyond locations, there are also 2 NPCs you don't want to miss. Gavuri is the trainer for the trooper profession, and you can find them at the Griffin's Reach trade post. On that topic, if you have yet to create your character, we suggest not to pick trooper as your starter profession, since Gavuri is one of the first trainers you can find and located in the starter zone. The trainers for the other professions require quite a bit more travel to get to, especially the Swordmaster and Bene Gesserit, so keep that in mind. If you have already selected it though, no worries, in the end you'll be able to unlock all professions over time. If you did not select the trooper profession, Gavori's contract will lead you to a couple of locations in the zone, and completing it will teach you the basic trooper profession skills. You might want to wait with this contract until you have reached the journey step for crafting your sandbike, as it will make traveling around a lot faster and easier. The next NPC you should visit is Derek Shinara, the planetologist trainer. He is located on the mountain above the testing station, and his contract will lead you into the testing station itself. However, you can also collect the item he wants first and deliver it retrospectively. You don't have to accept his contract before you do the testing station. By the way, planetologist is the only profession that can't be chosen upon character creation, and this is the only way how you can start learning the skills. If you need help with finding the other profession trainers or how to complete some of the advanced training, we have more guides on our channel. That leads us to our final topic, Sardaukar patrol ships. While traveling and gathering resources when it's dark is great for evading the heat, these ships patrol certain areas throughout the night and until shortly after dawn. You recognize them by the big searchlights and sounds the ships make. Should you get caught in one of the beams, it will lock onto you and suspend you in mid-air, leaving you unable to move. At the same time, a team of mercenaries will descend upon your location with the aim to kill you. Here are the areas they typically patrol. Long story short, stay out of the patrol ship's beam, or you'll find yourself in a much tougher fight than you might be prepared for. Now, we have a lot more guides about the game on our channel, and we'll link to a few of them in the description and pinned comment if you are looking for more help to get started. But for now, this wraps up our Starter Zone guide. If you found it helpful, please don't forget to leave a comment, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, or become a member of our channel.